Hi there. Welcome back to the session that helps you avoid FOMO and panic. We're going to go through research level ones and governance and research, including Algorand, Cardano, and Polkadot. I'll cover their Wyckoff stage, potential price trend change, as well as key price levels. These are education content only, not financial advice. And the dashboards, including a macro and a crypto market dashboard, is available on Substack and SLNs for free at the moment, so go check it out. Now, let's get to Algorand weekly chart. It is very, very deep into the accumulation cycle. Okay, you can consider that it is at least at the middle, if not mid-late stage of an accumulation. Okay, there was the automatic rally, okay, and then a sign of strength. What happened last week and this week? I explained in last session that there are a couple reasons triggering the price surge over here. That's around or over 55%. But I also mentioned that may be a sell the news scenario. Okay? There are a lot of tricks or news or narrative that the whales or institutions can use those to create these kind of shakeouts, shaking the paper hands, keeping only the diamond hands. So what happened over here when we get to the micro view in the daily chart, we'll get to see more detail. What we are looking forward is something similar to this, but sustained, continuing for a few weeks, if not months, with higher than average volume. All right? Re-challenging at least these blue lines, the two blue key level, the light blue 0.24, the deeper blue 0.264. Okay? That's when we are going to declare we are seeing the second sign of strength. And that gets us even closer to the end of accumulation cycle. Okay, look at what happened over here. Okay, it had the initial rally, like what we had over here, and then subsequently declined to the point it's got 2 times that it shows sign of strength. But it backtracked or retraced to very close to the lowest point before the whales let the price shoot up. Okay? So, micro view now. Last week I said, buy the safe. Okay? We'll get the confirmation, and indeed it came in. Okay? It did not pass the 0.125 green key level and broke below this uptrend support, which was very steep. Okay? And then for 7 consecutive days, and likely the 8th one would come in tomorrow, it has been coming back to re-challenge the orange key level of 0.095. Okay, it broke the yellow 0.110 yesterday. I said last week, if I remember correctly, the yellow was the support for this period during December all the way into late January. But then the entire Feb to where we were last week was all below this yellow key level. So it shouldn't be a surprise if it comes back down to this range. What's important now is that the range has been widened, okay, from early February till early April. It was below this yellow line. But what happened last week expanded the range to the green key level. So from the initial range bound between 0.110 all the way down to 0.08, now the range extended to 0.08 all the way up to 0.125. Okay? That means from here, now is here. Of course, depending on the further drop in price, if it happens, whether it is going to hold above the orange key level. If it does, then the range has been moved up. Okay, instead of widened, it has moved up from this narrow range to this bigger range, still widened, but not as wide as to the very bottom. So bringing you back to the point where I said in this over here, right? We see it travel sideways, go up, and then eventually come back down. Okay, it's kind of similar that it went up and then come back down slightly, then traded somewhere above one key level higher than the initial stage. So we're seeing something similar, but we need a confirmation when the price comes down to test this orange key level. If it holds and travels sideways, that means the playground has shifted. Right now, it's still too early to tell. And making use of a similar playground, if this drop, if we measure this narrow and steep downtrend, currently is a bit tricky because the trend has just started. We don't actually know which one is the actual bottom support line because we don't have enough reference points. I'm currently taking these two red candles. If we let me enlarge it, if you're watching on a mobile phone, it would be difficult. Here, this one and this one, these 2 points I'm taking reference from. We only have this one for the ceiling. So when the price today or tomorrow comes back down to rechallenge this line, we'll know better whether this is actually the slope, okay? Or would it be actually more mild or more steep? All right, we're still at the early stage. So the downtrend is going on, but the volume has been declining. Just to be careful that this is also weekend and the news that the ceasefire, the negotiation between US and Iran has just came out a couple of hours back. So these activities hasn't been factoring in that news because the institutions are basically not in their office hour yet until a few hours later when Asia wakes up. Okay? The earlier part of the globe is going to trade, and then the western part of the globe is going to trade in roughly 20 hours later. Now, Cardano, weekly chart. It is in the early stage of accumulation. Okay, from the initial panic sell whales come in stage or period, we are getting into the panic over stage. Okay, you see the volume is continuously being low, just that this may not be the lowest point of the cycle of these paper hands, diamond hands, shakeout tests. All right. These rallies and the sign of strength should happen sometime later. What's interesting is that for Cardano, this purple key level, 0.258, was exactly 2002, 2003 accumulation cycle low. Okay, the lowest points went as low as the 0.223 blue key level. You see this wick over here that tested that particular line. Okay, so when you look at this in the beginning of February, it also came down to test the same line. So that's the interesting part for Cardano. It is weak, like according to some of you leaving a comment in my video. Yes, but it isn't that weak compared to what happened over here. It was just the same low as of this moment in time. It hasn't gone to the point of, 2018 to 2020 accumulation range. All right. It can, technically speaking, if you look across the board for the other altcoins, some is even lower than the previous early days accumulation cycle. So for Cardano, it's already better than those that are worst. Okay? That's the big picture. It's still early in the accumulation. Sometimes the accumulation can last very long. Sometimes they last shorter. And the situation can be more violent depending on what's going on around the world. Now, micro view. For the case of Cardano, we said the base case is sideways trading between this blue line 0.223 all the way up to this yellow line around 30 cents. Reason being, again, February 5th and 6th. These two candles, I repeat more than enough. Now you should be able to remember. Those two dates set the range for what's going to happen next. Okay? That's why we are seeing, whenever it gets to this level, and then when it comes down to close to the 0.223 where the 6th of Feb defined, it is going back up, right? Well, so what happened on the 6th? That I said, okay, we'll get a confirmation because the price is trading near this gap. Either it continues with the downtrend to come to challenge the 0.223, or it breaks outside of this short-term downtrend, okay, and continue with the range bound. And it took the second path, okay, the second option. Even though it's not going back up to challenge this yellow dash line immediately, obviously we know the reasons, right? Peace talk, negotiation gone. That's how the news are being sold to the world, and that's how people react. Looking at this, if a new downtrend is being developed, or if it is actually continuing with the previous downtrend, all right? So we can do it this way. We can adjust this. All right, but I want to keep it here for the moment because it was showing this April 6th day. So I'll take this across, just duplicate this and make it a bigger box. Trying to align a few points over here. Let's say if this is the actual bigger downtrend. Still, pretty short term, not as big as this one over here. All right. Assuming that this is the milder, more or less steep of a slope. We're trying to measure a few frames over here. Okay, bear with me for a few seconds. And then a very short-term trend, narrow range, very steep drop. But actually, you can see it's almost parallel compared to this trend over here. Just that is, it doesn't have that much of a price range, the width of the channel. Okay, assuming this is the trend. Then we have a new date over here. This points to the 23rd of April. Okay, what it means is that if the price continues to trade along this channel, coming to test the 0.223, like I said over here, that's the reference. And then if we go further back in history, there were other references. If indeed it is going to come, because you see the volume compared to the past few days is actually higher, and there's still 7 hours left. Okay, that means when Asia wakes up and trade, we're still within today's candle. It may come to challenge the bottom edge of the channel. Okay, the support line over here. It is not touching it currently, but it may. Okay, and then there may be these kind of activities going on, coming to challenge this blue key level. If it breaks, then the next reference would draw us to the range back in 2019 to 2020. That's the key level of 0.169 that we are talking about. If this 0.223 ever breaks. Okay. So by next week, when we come back, okay, the next session will be on the 19th. So we'll still be able to see whether it is really trading along this hypothetical mini channel, or is it just hovering around this bigger channel that I just drawn. All right. So that's Cardano and now Polkadot. Polkadot, okay, very deep into the accumulation cycle, still going through the paper hands, diamond hands test. And this leg, we can see is still continuing with October 10th tariff announcement date last year, showing us the 0.97 red key level is where, or how deep the test can go. Of course, it can go further, but nobody hopes to see that, I guess. All right. Volume has been declining. Okay, from this average to this average to this average. Lower, lower, lower. Just slightly. Hopefully that's the signal telling us that there are not much paper hands left. Okay? We don't know until the whales test enough. But this kind of situation, hopefully it's showing us that it is getting close to the end of the test. So after the April 1st confirmation that the sideways trend is continuing instead of this downtrend, okay, that lasted for over 10 days. We are back to this point. This line has been continuously tested, the 1.23. Okay, again, same thing, repeatedly. The 5th and 6th of February defined the level of the subsequent trading range or subsequent trading period. You see, from the initial drop that set this line, this support and then this drop set the 1.67, and when it gets to the 5th and the 6th of February, it sets the support 1.23. After that, the price of Polkadot has been trading within this range. We are getting to a real test because of the situation, the latest development in the Middle East, where U.S. basically declared the negotiation, they didn't get to a deal with Iran. And Donald Trump said they're going to blockade the Strait of Hormuz. So meaning, even if Iran is allowing certain ships to go through, the U.S. is not going to allow them to go through. I'm not sure whether that's what it means. It sounds weird. Okay, but strategically speaking, it makes sense because it's going to push whoever that needs the delivery sitting on those ships to pressure Iran to get back to the table, trying to settle a deal. Whether that would happen or not, or at least would it happen that easily, it seems like it isn't, okay? So that's why I said it's a real test. The coming week, we will see how the world reacts and whether there are still paper hands sitting within Polkadot. If there are, and the world reacts negatively, those paper hands will sell and this will break this support line. Okay, and that will make the trade come to challenge the 0.97, the level that the October 10th tariff announcement day showed us where Polkadot can go to and get to, okay? Right? So this is not over yet, and it's too early to draw another playground over here because it's just a bunch of sideways candles. So I'd rather let it develop for another week and then share with you what actually that looks like when we come back next week. All right. If you're interested to access these sessions 2 days earlier, similar to the current channel members, join the channel membership now. And remember on Substack, these dashboards that helps you understand the macro and the crypto market is now available for free. The handle is @SLX. See you in the next video. Thank you.